to yourself, to have some self-worth. And so if you have an understanding that your personal soul, which is the last soul, which is directly involved with who you are and when you come on earth and the personal things that you're going to do, well, all of the other souls help you. The political soul help you. And unfortunately, when you live in a society that the world view is from a Western perspective, and there's a dogma about what religion and what spirituality should be, then you are working from a deficit because your racial soul is working counterclockwise to all of the clocks that are going. So when you look in the black community and we're getting marginalized and they are changing the boundaries in our community and we don't vote, we don't go out and to try to make a change because we say, well, all the systems are corrupt. The Republicans, the Democrats, the right wing, the left wing, whichever wing it is that the world that they believe, everybody's crooked. Well, you got to stand for something, either or. Because if you don't vote, you're allowing yourself, or if you don't get out there and be active in your community and get involved with community political things and support organizations that's going to create a wealth, if you don't have a voice, then you don't have any power. You don't have any abundance. You don't have any potential to create a change in your community. And our ancestors died so that we would have the right to live where we want to live and to amass wealth. Our ancestors died, were murdered, were strung up with bed sheets over their faces. And so today we live in a community where we want to invest and we want to have abundance, but we have to look beyond just the individual having financial abundance and wealth. And so we have to investigate how we can help our racial soul by learning what is going on in the political process that can cause us to lose our rights. The civil rights that we have voted for are being nipped away at us. And if we're thinking about we just want to amass our wealth for ourselves, it's just a matter of years if we don't get busy and really get involved in what's really actually going on in the material plane or that's going on in the political plane and is going on in our cultural plane, that is what is in our natural plane or the natural soul, then we could lose ourselves. We could lose ourselves as to who we are, and we will lose our children's respect because we are living off of our children's inheritance. This is what we're going to give our children. And if we don't give them something that means abundance is yours, but when you have your abundance, use that abundance to create an abundant lifestyle around you, not packing up and moving to another community. So that's one of the things that I wanted to really for us to look at in terms of when we're looking at spirituality and financial wealth. We have to look at the spirit of who we are as a culture, as a spirit, as a belief system. It is, if you're in an Ifa and the name of this program is Omo Oduduwa, if we are the children of Oduduwa, then we are in a minority. When you see, when you look at television and there's something that we're having all of the clergy praying together for the upliftment of a community, you do not see usually a representation of indigenous culture. You see Judaism, you see the basic three religions. And so for us to have abundance and wealth, we have to be a voice that is presented. Because if we're raising our children telling them that Obatala is the God of wisdom and Elegba is the energy that creates our path and our future and in any direction that we're going, well, we have to do more than just tell them to believe what we're saying. We have to create a reality that the children can see that these Orishas are part of our reality, that it is our life. And so we have to leave a legacy for our children to understand that, okay, when you see something going on in the community, we are respected, not as black people, but we are respected as traditional practitioners of traditional religion, of indigenous culture. That gives you abundance. That gives you wealth. That gives you a voice. That when you show up, they say, okay. And you say, well, no longer are we going to say that our children can't wear their galas or their filas in school because y'all have explained to us that this is a legitimate religion and the reason that you're covering your head or whatever it is that makes us distinctly different from the basic three religions. That is abundance. That is wealth. That is spirituality and financial wealth. Because when we show up with that, we're able to say, okay, we demand in this neighborhood that you have the types of things that we want. We want to see 3 black African Americans or Latino cops in our neighborhood. Why? Because we pay taxes and because we make sure that our community has a reflection of how much respect we have for it. And when we take care of it and we say this is what we demand and you want our vote, then you give us what it is that we want. Then our children will say, oh, this Orisha thing is not something you just do in the closet. This is something that is real. And so I will practice it after my parents die. So we have to look at it from that perspective more so than just thinking that we want to make a mass wealth for ourselves so we can get a new car or the new shoes or whatever it is that, the latest thing is out there.
Yeah. It's a lot bigger than that, and that's what sometimes I don't think people realize how big it is and how important that is, because we do have people, doing the wrong thing, and not just trying to take advantage of and just make money and not look at the bigger picture.
Yes.
But we have another caller on the line, Iyalode, so we're going to go ahead and bring them in. This is area code 347.
Yes. This is Fayeme.
Alafia, how you doing?
Always well. For as an awo abru aboye aboshe ifa. Praise and respect to your ancestors. Praise and respect to Adefumi the First, Ibaye, and praise and respect to his son. May his crown always lift us.
Ashe.
Ashe. I was listening to Yeye speak, and the wisdom that you speak, Yeye, may you always speak it and never run out of breath.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I accept it, what you're saying, and I know I'm abundantly blessed with your prayers and your words. Thank you.
Ashe, Yeye. I wanted to share as an awo. One thing that the Odus are so rich in wisdom, and there's an Odu, I forget it. It's on the tip of my brain. It speaks about abundance being brought to the world by Oshun. Oshun brought wealth to the world, and from my Ile and from what I know is abundance is the 16 Odus. And I'm not speaking for anyone, I'm speaking for myself and my Ile, is that if I'm not speaking and working or bringing people to a place where they can celebrate their egun that prepares them for abundance, which is the 16 Odus, we'll all starve. Because the focus, the solution, the wealth that I look for is not the exchange that we humans put together, because the Orisha don't look at a $5 bill, they don't look at a $20 bill, they don't look at anything. What they look at is what Eshu governs, and that's sacrifice, that's offering. And how I get to understand offering is by understanding, sitting at the feet of my elders and learning how and preparing myself to work the 16 Odus. The 16 Odus is the wisdom of Olodumare harnessed by Ifa, and that has always taken care of me. As an Awo servicing my community, I look at the other cultures here, and it's about money. It's about how much, what you're going to give me. I paid this for this. You're not supposed to. And it gets away from the principles of the Odus, the principle, the aspects of Olodumare, and it gets caught up in the human in intricacies of this culture and of this religion. The religion, from my understanding, is the Odu, and all of my solutions, all of my wealth, everything that I could possibly think about is in the 16 Odu, 16 Meje.
So my question here, and the Odu that you were thinking about is Oshatura. Now, my question here is we are addressing people that don't necessarily practice the Ifa tradition, and so that's why I'm keeping it in a way where we're not making it just the dogma of, okay, you have to have Ifa and the Odu to be amassing wealth. And so that's why we're keeping it on just spirituality and financial wealth in terms of the spirit. Now, if we're talking about we want to go into directly in Orisha, then we could deal with that. So that was my question. So, not my question, but my statement is that we're trying to address, because there are people that I know that I've invited on the show tonight that are not part of, per se, one specific religious practice. They are just African people looking for a solution. So I know the Ifa Odu that you're speaking on, the birth of creativity, which is the same thing that we're talking about, implementation and inspiration, is used there, because we can go in the direction that before you want to get any clarity on your abundance, you get a reading. Well, then I don't want to, but we don't want to get it in such a place that we want this call to be just about we're promoting that you're trying to get a reading and you're trying to direct people into it. We're trying to solve problem, and I'm not saying that you're not doing it. We're talking in the same language. We're trying to help people. The intention of this show was to help people who are in the midst of supposedly a recession, but really a depression. And how do you find inspiration? How do you find spiritual grounding that you'll be able to have financial wealth? And that's where is the direction where I was taking the show, more so than IFA. Because if we want to do IFA, then we can do a whole show on IFA.
When I say that, if you listen, and I hear what you say, this is how I speak about it. When in terms of you're saying, in terms of money is important. It's a method of exchange. But I'm looking at, when I speak of Odu, I'm not speaking of Ifa, because you don't have to have Ifa to work Odu. When someone comes into my house for the first time and they sit down and we're consulting their ancestors is going to speak through the wealth of Odu. So I say that the healing comes from Odu. Richness comes through Odu. And trust me, I'm not taking anything away from you. This is the perspective that I speak. So that's why I'm glad that you laid it out the way that you laid it out. But when people come to my Ile, the first thing they think about, they bring the pressures of money. They bring the pressures of being unemployed. They bring the pressures of not being where they were 10 years ago. And the healing comes from the wealth, the richness that was brought through the Odu. So when I say that, I will say this: the wisdom of God. The wisdom of God is going to be the solution. That's my wealth. That's where I get my wealth from. So I hope I didn't get psychedelic on you for a minute, and I'm glad that you brought me back down. But I always come from that perspective because, like I said, many people that are coming in, their head is heavy from not having, from losing their homes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the healing of those that I serve in the community, the healing comes from, as I said, the wealth that was given to me by Ifa is the Odus.
Thank you, caller. We appreciate you calling in and giving your perspective. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and take another quick commercial break, and then we'll be back in just a moment.
Roots and Rooted, for those who love traditional African religion. For temple directories, priest directories, articles, interviews, and more, please go to www.rootsandrooted.org. Balanced Living, Inc. by Iyalode Yeyefini Efunbolade. For more information about classes, the self-empowerment workshops, and more, please go to www.yeyefini.com. Move My Spirit Tour, an indigenous healers movement. Join us in 2012 for a full day of conference where you can learn about authors and practitioners, experience holistic massage, indulge at a global market, learn the truth about African spirituality, and more. For more information, please go to www.mmstour.com. Join Ifa Degunshe Oshadele for Ifa Code of Conduct every Sunday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. here on OORadio.